So today we are going to have a follow-on from the last lesson, and the last lesson was Case Studies 1, and we went through the whole case study of a case of severe asthma and Vinaya visions. It was mainly based around the Vinaya visions that was showing the whole process of healing going on in the healing partner. Today we're going to follow on from that with a case study part 2, but there's going to be a slightly different focus to it, because we're going to take a case study, but we're going to use it to follow the whole journey of how we work as network healers. And this is a setup for a lesson in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to do the role plays, aren't we? And so this lesson is really a preparation for doing those role plays. And as I talk through this lesson, you'll see exactly what I mean. So in this lesson, there's going to be quite a lot of procedural stuff, and I'm going to have to read quite a few things to you, show you quite a few different forms, and I've filled out some forms as an example using our case study. So I'm going to have to read a fair bit to you, but hopefully it's still going to be interesting, because this is how we work in network healers. So you're going to have to come back to this lesson in a couple of weeks' time to remind yourself of the exact process to take, because in 2 weeks we're going to do the role play, and you're going to have to carry out some of the procedures that I'm going to show you in this lesson. So let's start then. So I'm going to start by showing you the network healers procedure. And if you ever want to remind yourself of the exact process that you need to take with a healing partner or a recipient of healing, then you can always go back to this procedure, and it just lays it out in a list of things that you need to be aware of. Here we go. We'll start with this procedure, and then we're going to follow this procedure with our case study, our example case study. This is a fictional case study today, though, by the way. Put various things together so that it's a nice, easy example for you to track. So this is our network healers symbiosis procedure. First of all, there is a quick list, which I'll come back to afterwards, but this is just summarizing the document, really, which is, I'll come back to that in a bit. Let's just get through it. So locations of documents, I'm not going to go through this now, but this shows you where the documents that you need are located, and they're all on the AIA database. That's a shared database of documents. We use Google Drive for that, and that's part of Google Workspace, which is our platform that we use to communicate and to share documents and to store all our documents. So when you become part of a healing hub, we'll put you into Google Workspace, and this is where we communicate and share documents. So this is the location of all the forms that you need as part of the process. Now, the procedure. So I'm going to try and run through this fairly quickly, because I don't, there's quite a few points on it. If you do have questions, bits you're not quite getting, or I'm not explaining it very well, just please do butt in and get me to explain a bit more, though, for sure. So the first thing is the source of applicants. Where are our applicants coming from? Well, for the moment, it's friends and family, mostly, to be honest with you, and the wider community of friends and family. A website, we have a website, of course, and at some point people will start coming through the website. And social media. Social media has started, and we're starting to get people through social media as well. And also the research project. We're going to start getting people through the research project soon when we start that. Now, all inquiries are passed on to the AIA Healing Support Admin, and they will deal with all inquiries from most inquiries, let's say. If it's coming through one of the healing partners, then that's a different thing. If it's friends and family, it's slightly different. But on a large scale, as inquiries come through the website and social media, it will be funneled through the AIA Healing Support Admin. So AIA Healing Support to give out the welcome pack. That's the first thing that we need to be aware of, that there is a welcome pack. I'm going to go through that in a minute with you, to all potential applicants. Now, in that, the applicant should read about the differences between clinic and health flow and decide which one they would prefer. Now, sometimes you might have to there may have to be a conversation as to the availability of the clinic, because there might well be a waiting list. Because it's free and there's only a limited number of spaces in the clinic, there may well be a waiting list. And the final decision to admittance to clinic will always rest with the healers after an initial assessment. All right, so Aya Healing Support Admin will send the applicant joining form part 1. I'm going to go through joining form part 1 in just a second. Now this bit is just about email consent. I won't read that out. Now if the clinic is preferred, we want to ask for a photo of the applicant, because it's always good to have a little photo in the spreadsheet so everyone can know what the person looks like. And currently the clinic program is only available to UK applicants. That will change in the future as we grow. Now, if the applicant wishes to learn about self-healing, the pyramid course is available and can be suggested, of course. And the Structuring the Healing Journey flow diagram can be used to remind the healer of the whole process of healing. I'm going to go through that in a minute with you as well. You saw that in an earlier lesson. A couple of points, admin points. Please don't send any Word document forms to the public. Always use the PDF versions. That's just a professional way of communicating just with PDF documents. And also always keep records on the Aya database. Never in paper at home and never on your computer. And that's part of our data protection policy, which is a legal requirement for data protection now. So we have to be very careful about where we store people's data. So it's all on the Aya database. And by the way, I'm going to upload these documents to Classroom so that you can read through them in your own time as well. And of course, they are on the Aya database, and you have the locations as part of this procedure. So it's the Aya Healing Support Admin's responsibility for checking that the joining form part 1 has been filled out correctly. And then the last point in this section, all healers must strictly adhere to the code of conduct. Just put that in there just to remind everyone now and then to go and read the code of conduct. On that note, we have produced a new version of the code of conduct. We've updated it, took on board everybody's comments and made a new version, a much more comprehensive version. And I'm going to upload that version into Classroom soon. And before joining a hub, everyone's going to have to go and read that. Right then, so that was the general section. Now, clinic. If clinic is chosen, there's a few things that we need to understand. A healer is assigned that is the best fit for the applicant, and they can now be called healer and healing partner. An initial meeting is held with the applicant, and the healer fills out joining form part 2. Now, this is the bit where we're going to give you an assignment in the role plays. So we're going to present a meeting. One of us is going to pretend to be a healing partner, and you're going to interview us as part of that initial meeting, and you're going to then fill out joining form part 2. Now, the healer can still make a final decision whether to accept the applicant into the clinic program or not. Okay. This is very important here. The checklist must be used alongside joining form part 2 to remind the healer of the relevant questions to ask and information to gather. There is a checklist just to remind you about what, conversation points, the information that we need to glean from the healing partner. There's a checklist, and I'll show you that in a second as well. From then on, the healer has regular progress meetings, ideally every couple of weeks, with the healing partner, to receive updates and to guide the healing journey. The healing partner chooses a time of the day for the healing session and their exercises. And weekdays only, we have made a point of this. So the reason why we're going for weekdays only is to get everybody into the idea that weekends are off limit. Now, it doesn't matter to the healer really, does it? Because the healer doesn't sit down and send energy healing to the healing partner, because it's higher mind healing. However, we've just put weekdays only for them to sit down, just so that they get used to the idea that the weekends are out of work times, and it also means that they shouldn't contact the healer at weekends as well. All right. In person or by video call is the best form of meeting, and the duration of the healing partner meetings should be of no more than 1 hour. These are the the kind of loose rules that we're starting to formulate, just to try and limit the amount of time healers are spending on a particular healing partner. Now, you have to use your own intuition with this, of course, and if more is needed, then more is needed. It's up to you, really. But generally speaking, we're going to try and stick to about an hour, because we don't want to overload healers in network healers. Right then, once the initial meeting has been held and the applicant has been admitted to the Clinic Hub list, the healer should start a partner record form to keep a record of the healer-partner interactions. So, partner record form is another form you have to fill out on an ongoing basis. I will show you that in a second. Currently, the clinic partner list is managed by admin support. However, as the number of hubs grow, they will be managed by the hub consultant healer. That's just because we've got one hub at the moment. So the healers should attend clinic hub meetings every 2 weeks, depending on the number of partners. This is flexible. How often the healers actually meet to discuss the healing partners is flexible. It depends on how many partners we've actually got at the time, to be honest. And the healing partners are discussed at the clinic hub meetings to pool knowledge and to direct the healing journeys. So the healers meet together, discuss everyone, and decide on the best way forward for everyone. Okay, current limit to the number of partners per healer is currently set at 12. Now that's just a number that we've put on it based on our experience, but that's also flexible, of course. If somebody doesn't have much time, if a healer doesn't have much time, then they can maybe only take on a certain number of partners, 5 partners or something like that. Or if somebody wants to put more time in, then they can go over that number, of course. But we have to feel our way, and it will evolve as we go. Okay, soon after having a few meetings with the healing partner, the healer should start the process of completing an SHJ form, structuring the healing journey. Now, this is also going to be part of that assignment in a couple of weeks. You're going to have a role play where you need to fill out joining form part 2, interview the healing partner, and then you're going to need to use that information to fill out the structuring the healing journey form. Now, you've done that once before in a lesson earlier, so it'll be building on that knowledge. Now, in reality, the filling out of this form may take some time as the healer gets to know the partner, and this form is never actually finished. Should be continually updated as new information is discovered or things change and evolve. The structuring the healing journey form is a journey of healing, and journeys of healing evolve, don't they? Okay, the healers should ascertain the spiritual development level of their healing partners. This should be recorded in the list of healing partners, not in the joining form part 2 or the partner record form or the SHJ forms. We want to keep that information separate. We don't want it to be part of the official records because it's just the side notes of the healers, really, at the end of the day. And it's so subjective that it shouldn't really be part of the official records. But it is important. Okay, another interesting one here. As a rough guide, the current hours of work for a healer has been set at an average maximum of 10 hours per week. That's what we're looking at the moment. And this can be flexible and discussed on a case-by-case basis. So that's a maximum, and that's kind of the same as what's going on now with the course, with the FASTRAC course and the assignments and all that. That's also set at a maximum of 10 hours per week. So what we're hoping is that as we go into a hub, as healers go into a hub, the actual time spent is not going to be much different from what is going on now. But that depends, of course, on how many healing partners they take on. Okay, next one. The healers should only be using the AYA NHS method. If a healing partner shows interest in other types of therapy, we will have an approved list of practitioners to suggest. However, this must be discussed officially with the hub and a decision made by the consultant. That's just to keep a level of control over what other therapies we're suggesting to people, and to make sure that if we're suggesting any practitioners, then we want it to come from an AYA approved list. This doesn't apply to the research project participants, however, who must adhere strictly to their program of healing to avoid confusion of the results or data. But that's just for the research project, that's all. Other than that, it doesn't really matter. And quite often, people will come to us and they're already doing 100 other types of therapies anyway. All right, there are also, last point here in the clinic, there are handouts available to give to the healing partners for various common complaints and other types of information like nutrition information and things like that. So we do have a list of handouts that are just easy to email to somebody, and it gives them various information about different topics. So basically what we're saying here is that we're trying to do all the work, and anything that's general, the work's been done already, and all you have to do is go and find it and send it to the healing partner. All right, so that was clinic. That was a load of points if clinic is going to be used, and we're going to go through this process in a minute with our case study. But if health flow is chosen, let's go through these. Okay, if health flow is chosen, so right back to the joining form part 1, and if health flow, if it's decided that this person belongs on health flow, then the AYA Healing admin support will add the recipient to health flow list and maintain the communications, mostly through email, and to get the updates back through email. The emails should be retained for official records. Now, the reason that is because the health flow list is going to get big. It's going to get big very quickly. Through social media, we're already getting more and more people being added to the list. And this is our big upscaled group healing thing. So there's less amount of time that we spend on each people. So the communication will be by email, and it will be the admin healing support which will take care of that. So the health flow program is not separated into hubs like the clinic. There will be one health flow meeting where all network healers may join for the updates. It is not compulsory for all healers to attend every health flow meeting though, as time might be short as the department grows. So we only ask that all healers attend one periodically to keep up to date with how the health flow list is progressing. And you know that this is a bit of an evolution, this health flow department. So we are sort of learning as we go about how it's actually going to work. The health flow list will be managed by the AYA Healing admin support team. That's at the moment, but that team will grow and present its findings during the meetings. And like I said, please note that at the time of writing, we are currently midway through creating the health flow program, and therefore there are minimal recipients on the list, which allows us to spend more time on each one. So if any of you have noticed in our current health flow meetings, we do tend to spend quite a lot of time on some of the people on that list. But as that list grows, less time will be able to be spent on each person. And you can imagine that list will evolve into having thousands of people on it, potentially. So it's going to be interesting to see how we actually start to manage that meeting and how we manage that list. Okay, lastly, there is a basic program of energy healing sent to all recipients, and all network healers must always know exactly what is on the list. Now, what that means is that because health flow is non-customized, we want to know that there is, because it's high mind healing, we need to know that at least a basic amount of energy healing is definitely going to everyone. And this is just going to be things like removing negative karma, removing chakra blockages, emotional energy healing, that sort of thing. And that will be sent to everyone, no matter what, basically. We haven't made that list yet, by the way. That will be made and be made aware to. All right, that is our procedure. And I'm going to upload that into Classroom. And it is also on the AYA database, of course, whenever everybody is being added into it. And going back to the quick list here, if you just want a quick reminder of what's in the procedure, then you can just dip into the procedure and look at the quick list. And here you've got welcome pack, joining form part 1, initial meeting, joining form part 2, and checklist. Progress meetings with partner and fill out the partner record form. Healer Hub meetings to attend to. SHJ form, structuring the healing journey. and about the health flow. Only joining form part 1 for the health flow. And that's roughly what I'm going to be going through today, this little list here, really. Okay, so that was the procedure. Now, let me go through a few of these documents. So first of all, the welcome pack. Now, I'm not going to spend too long on these because you can go through these in your own time. I just want to show you the document to show you that we have this in place. This is very new, by the way, the welcome pack. We only finished it off in April this year. You can see there the version number. So we've got a contents page, we've got a legal disclaimer there, we've got some organizational information here, parent organization, and then the healing department, and then the 3 sub-departments, Aya Shanta, end of life support, Aya Care, and Aya NHS there. And then on this side, we've got values and approach, which you guys know already. Then we've got a page on what is Network Healers. An introduction to what Network Healers is, a little bit on clinic program, a little bit on health flow program, and then a page of FAQs, frequently asked questions. Then we've got a double page on what is self-healing, because the clinic is part self-healing, part energy healing. So we need to explain to people who are coming to this cold, straight, first time they've ever seen anything like this, perhaps, what our definition is of self-healing. So there's a bit of information on the Aya healing pyramid. And then a page on what is energy healing, to describe exactly or to define what energy healing actually is. And then a page on science and research, just to show people that we don't want to be this wacky, out of mainstream organization that is, not part of mainstream. We want to become part of mainstream. That's our whole plan, really. So a little bit of information on science and research reassures people that we want to be part of mainstream healthcare, and therefore we work with an evidence-based system, or we want to. And a whole page on the clinic then. So this page explains everything about the clinic so that they can really see the differences between clinic and health flow and decide what they want to do. This explains the whole responsibility and the level of commitment to the clinic. And then same for health flow, whole page on explaining health flow. And then we just got a page on the Aya organization, a bit of general information for them about Aya and also Silent Revolution. And that's it. So there we go. That is the welcome pack. So that gets sent out early days by the admin support before even joining form part 1, or around the same time as joining form part 1. Actually, before joining form part 1, really. Because then they can decide whether they want to join or not. Okay, so now joining form part 1. So the admin support, if you remember from the procedure, admin support sends joining form part 1. And I've filled this out with our case study. Now, I'm basing this on a similar case study to what we used before. So you have actually seen this before in the Structuring the Healing Journey lesson. So I'm using the same case study, but I'm building on it now. So that was a basic exercise for you to fill out that form. And now we're going to make it more involved and more complicated or more accurate to reality. So I've built on that case, basically. So name, lesson 39, case study 2. Okay, address. Okay, so this person is UK based. Occupation, unemployed. I'm just going to run through the important parts, obviously. So please list all your current medical conditions. Severe asthma, thyroid problems, kidney stones, mental health problems. And then number 8, please specify which condition the healing request is for, because people usually come to us with a main problem. They may have many complications and other things going on, but there's usually a main problem that they want for us to work on. And this is severe asthma, of course, our main one that we're focusing on for the research project. That's why we're doing it here in this case study. Okay, other questions? Are you suffering from a notifiable disease? And the list of notifiable diseases is at the end of this form. And a notifiable disease is a list of diseases from the government that if you find somebody that is suffering from a disease on this list, you have to notify the authorities immediately. Anyway, the answer is no, of course, here. Are you taking any medication? Yes. Salbutamol for asthma, various thyroid medications, levothyroxine, lyrothyronine. And has the applicant consulted their own GP? Yes, they have. Do you have any relevant medical history to share, such as serious illnesses or accidents? Constant respiratory infections, sleep apnea, and a pneumothorax. A pneumothorax is a collapsed lung. And that can actually happen sometimes as a result of too much coughing. And sleep apnea is that condition that happens at night where your breathing becomes restricted to the point where it keeps waking you up. It keeps stopping the airflow going through to your lungs, and that just keeps waking you up in a jolt. And that can happen with severe asthma. Now, note that this person has written these particular things in other illnesses, where actually later on when we have the initial meeting, lots more stuff starts coming out. So quite often they will, abbreviate on this form, and then you find out more as you go along in the initial meeting and beyond, to be honest. You find out more and more as you go. Do you have any allergies? Yes. Cats, pollen, dust, insect bites. And have you ever tried energy healing before? Or any other types of complementary medicine? Yes, loads of them here. Reiki, acupuncture, therapeutic touch, pranic healing, hypnotherapy, Tai Chi, homeopathy, Chinese medicine. So loads of them there, which is good for us, really, because it gives them a lot of experience in these types of therapies. All right, there we go. So the rest is just a consent form, basically. This is just a consent, and we get a signature from that person and a date. Okay, that's that form, and that's the list of notifiable diseases there on the end. All right, so that is joining form part 1. Right, so now let's assume that clinic has been chosen and a healer has been assigned, and now it's time for the initial meeting. So now in 2 weeks' time, this is what you're going to be joining. This is where you're going to be joining. This is where you're going to be starting at for the role play. So let's have a look at the checklist first. Right then, this is the checklist. So you can, when you have your meeting, you can have, if it's online, if it's a video call, that's the easiest, because you can have all your bits and bobs. You can print it out if you want, or you can have it on your screen, whatever you like. But, if you have an in-person meeting, then, you have a good read through this beforehand. You can also have it handy if you want to use it as a checklist. There's nothing wrong with that. So the checklist should be used during the initial applicant meeting. Have joining form part 1 and also 2 also at hand. If you have joining form part 1 at hand as well, you can see what they've written already is on that initial joining. So there are just a list of points to remind you of things to talk about and certain bits of information that we want to glean from them. But now you have to use your intuition about this as well, and you have to use diplomacy, and you have to be subtle, and some things you might not want to ask. This is just a full guide, basically, and you just have to judge it as you go to see whether some of these questions are appropriate to ask at this time. With some people, they're free to talk. Other people are much more guarded, and it may take you months to get some of this information. So you just have to judge the situation yourself. Okay, the applicant should have already received and completed joining form part 1. However, if they do not have the form with them, please complete a joining form part 1 together at the first meeting. So getting that joining form signed. If it's not signed already, that's a priority. Right, a free energy healing program. That's always important to say in case they don't know. They should have read it in the welcome pack, but just in case. Have they tried any energy healing before, other types of complementary medicine? Now, you might know this from joining form part 1, but if so, you want to maybe ask them a little bit more, see if you can get more information about them, basically, what their levels of experience are with complementary medicine. And also see what their general opinion is on energy healing, to be honest. It would be good to know that. So you'd have the joining form part 1 at hand, and you can elaborate on any previous medical history. If they've got anything there, you might want to elaborate on it, ask a few questions, anything that you can, really, information that you can. And ask if they've read the welcome pack. Typo there, that should be welcome pack, not brochure, but sorry. And go through the concept of air healing again. Now, here is a little paragraph which describes the process of network healers. If you want to remind yourself, if you need it, it's completely up to you, but there's a little paragraph there to give you some ideas of how to explain what we do. I won't read that now, you can read that later. It's good to make a point of discussing the concept of the healing partnership, just to make sure they really fully understand that. The partnership aspect is the responsibility of the healing partner, the commitment that they need to put in to their healing journey. They have to be an active participant in their own healing journey. That's the whole point. That's why it is a partnership. We're not just giving energy healing out in the clinic. It's a partnership. Okay, go through the format of the distance healing. Hopefully they've read the welcome pack, but if not, you can explain a little bit more. They might have some questions about it as well. You could explain the process of sending healing energy, basically going through our processes of how we work, basically. Can they sit comfortably upright with a vertical back or flat on their back to perform the exercises? Very important for us to know that. Or if they can't do that, we do have an option for them. If they can't sit up to do the exercises while they're receiving that healing energy, then we have this option here, the Valley of Healing Energy guided meditation. So as long as they can lie down and listen to this meditation, then the energy can still go. Always good to inform them about what they might feel during the healing session. They may feel some energy sensations during the healing session, which could feel like tingling, pressure, coldness, heat. They may see lights. It might become drowsy, and it's always good, if you're explaining that, it's always good to mention it's no indication of the effectiveness of the healing if they feel something or if they don't. It's interesting if they do, but it does not mean that there's no healing energy going to. Right, you try and gain an insight to their lifestyle if you can, approximately daily routine. You don't need to ask them this, you just have to try and infer by other questions that you're asking them. It's always also good to see if they have a belief system surrounding spiritual matters. For example, are they religious? Are they atheist? Are they spiritual but not religious, which is another type of spirituality? Are they New Age spirituality? Are they Eastern spirituality? Are they spiritualist? Or perhaps nothing in particular, which is probably the vast majority of people in the UK now, because it's becoming very secular. Just useful to know. Sometimes you might not want to ask them about this, of course, until you get to know them better. But it's on this form because it's just useful to know. For example, if somebody has a history of Christianity, we know to look out for any resistance to these type of therapies, because in the Christian traditions, sometimes this sort of stuff can be rejected. Now, if they're interested, you can talk about self-healing, things like the link between thoughts and emotions and emotional energy and blocked chakras and vessels. But only if you feel that it's the right thing to do. You can also discuss the concepts of karma and karma emotions and how suffering is generated, if you feel that they are into that stuff already. That might even evolve into a conversation on reincarnation, if they're interested. You never know. Using your judgment, you may feel they're ready for self-realization in this lifetime and their current problems are linked to their imminent awakening. If so, gently bring up the concept to see if they look interested. However, this may well be a conversation for much later on. And at the end of the meeting, please fill out joining form part 2 and file it away with part 1. All right. That's the checklist. Any questions about that? Okay, so let's now go to joining form part 2. So this is where you're going to, in the role-playing exercise assignment in 2 weeks' time, you're going to be doing the initial meeting and then filling out joining form part 2 and the structuring the healing journey form. So this is using our case study. So the meeting has been held and the form has been filled out. So let's go through it. So the first part of the form is a few questions which are really necessary to know, really. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really important questions to know. And then there's a section to put a load of notes in just from whatever you manage to get from your initial meeting, really. So let's have a look at this. And let's have a look at this case study because we're going to need to fill out a structuring the healing journey form. So we need to, this initial meeting is so important to get as much information as possible. So number 1, is the applicant willing to form a healing partnership between a healer and a healing partner? Yes, and seems very keen to learn. Excellent. Applicant expectations of outcome regarding our healing. This is asked because we want to know if they have any expectations, because it would be a good time to explain that they shouldn't have any expectations and that we do not claim to cure, and quite often it doesn't work, and so it's best not to have any solid expectations about the outcome. But anyway, this person was just grateful for any help, so that's a good sign. Applicant current understanding regarding energy healing. Well, he's had plenty of Reiki before, this person, so there's a fair amount of understanding. Is the applicant willing to participate in their own healing journey by doing some simple breath energy work? We need to know this for sure. And yes, seems very keen. Excellent. And times and days available to receive healing transmission. So he's chosen 6 p.m. every weekday. Excellent. That's a good start. Right then, further notes. So this is where we're starting to build a picture. We're starting to build a picture of what has happened to get this person into the state that they are in. If they're in a state of suffering, or if they've got a lot of medical issues, how did that happen? And then that will help us then create the journey for them, the healing journey for them, to improve their life. So this section is just going to be just notes form, really, to be honest with you. So he's very grateful for the help. He can't believe it's all free. Okay, he's done plenty of complementary medicines before. He's had a whole lifetime of trying new things: Reiki, acupuncture, therapeutic touch, pranic healing, hypnotherapy, Tai Chi, homeopathy, Chinese medicine. He's done everything under the sun. He's found that many of them do help to some degree, and he always feels relaxed during and after the therapies. He says he's also felt what he thought was healing energy sensations during some of the Reiki sessions as well. So that's good to know as well. Now he's read the welcome pack and understands all the concepts, and he's fully committed to the clinic program. Okay, great. He can sit up straight and perform the breath work, no problem. And he has tried breath work before, which is a good sign as well. Now, he's got severe asthma from an early age. Now, he's been in and out of hospital, and he's got a very low quality of life because of this. The asthma has made it impossible to live a normal life. Constant respiratory infections and the permanent worry of having asthma attacks. His asthma is constantly triggered by his allergies. It can be set off by the slightest bit of dust, making him very agoraphobic as well. He's got a fear of leaving the safety of his flat or going anywhere that is not in the vicinity of a hospital. Now, over the long term, that's caused many episodes of depression as well. Now, his fitness levels are very low due to inactivity. This has caused weight gain, and this has exacerbated the asthma because it puts more pressure on the lungs. He's experienced thyroid problems over the last 10 years and takes various medications. We'll analyze that in a minute when we go through the SHJ form. Calcium levels very high due to thyroid issues. He's on the waiting list for an operation with the NHS to remove the malfunctioning part of the thyroid. And kidney stones are a constant problem, and that's because of the high calcium levels. So he's had various operations lately to remove really large kidney stones of about 10 millimeter and 13 millimeters. and there's been some complications of that surgery. A stent has been put into the ureter, and there's a lot of bruising, and it's very painful. And there's also a lot of blood coming out in the urine. And this again causes loads of anxiety. So he's constantly anxious of a kidney stone descending and having to go through that pain again. And the hospital process as well. It was really traumatic. He had to wait in A&E for 5 hours in extreme pain. Constant source of extra anxiety, that is. Now, during the meeting, the healer, or I observed, or an observation was made as to the overactive nature of his conversation. Now, he was very verbally overactive, sorry. And at the same time, he had a difficulty in focusing on what you're trying to explain. Now, he seemed to acknowledge this, and actually he was constantly apologetic about it. So he's a very extroverted personality, but at the same time racked with fear and panic, and complains of having a fear of being alone. Now, you just write all this down when you're having a meeting with somebody. You're not necessarily understanding the whole journey of how this has happened. You're just writing everything down, and then you go and analyze it afterwards. He mentioned that he was orphaned. He was an orphan as a child and adopted. And he doesn't get on with his adopted parents, unfortunately. Salbutamol inhaler about 20 times a day, and uses a full face nebulizer about 3 times a day, which is very restrictive. And he has high levels of daily anxiety and generally very low mood. Okay, so sleep apnea. That happens most nights and can happen over 100 times during a night. Now, this leaves him in a daily state of drowsiness, irritability, confusion, difficulty concentrating, and generally low mood. Now, sleep apnea can be, he said this, sleep apnea can be a complication of severe asthma as the airways become restricted. And also he's found out that the long-term use of corticosteroids, which is salbutamol, can cause a condition through a weakening of the airway muscles. So as a result of that long-term use of the inhaler, it's actually created or given him the condition of sleep apnea. Okay. Now, he doesn't have any close family or friends for support, unfortunately. This is another trigger for depression. No close support system and a lot of loneliness going on. Now, he seems very keen to learn the concepts of self-healing, although he doesn't feel like he's ready to attend the pyramid course in person, but he has committed to watching the videos online, which is good. Now, we didn't get around to talking about spirituality or philosophy, but I get the feeling that he's open to all sorts of concepts. And the way he talks is that he feels that he's been given all these problems for a reason, and it's his job to experience them. So, there are some moments of positivity, but to be honest, it's amongst overwhelmingly negative outlook. Okay, and lastly, I didn't talk about the concept of karma because we didn't really know each other well enough at all, and I didn't want it to be misinterpreted as some sort of punishment or judgment. So that's at a later date, maybe when he's done some of those pyramid lessons and that concept has been introduced, and maybe we can talk about it then. And that's that. That's joining form part 2. Okay, we'll take a break. Yep, we'll take a break. But any questions about that before we take a break? Okay, great. So what we'll do is next we're going to we'll probably go over the partner record form very briefly, but then we're going to build a structuring the healing journey form around this information. So this information is so important to try and get any idea of what's going on so that then you can build their healing journey. All right, let's have a little break. See you in a sec. All right, brilliant. So the next part is not, I'm not going to show you a form, but just to remind everybody that spiritual development of the healing partner is ascertained at this point. And in our case study today, the healing partner is around the heart chakra development. So the higher mind is fully awake and making life plans, fair amount of intuition going through. And We put that down, like I said before, we put that down on the list of healing partners, but we don't record it in any of the official documents. Not for the moment anyway, and that may change. That may well change in the future. Right, and so next I'm going to very briefly show you the partner record form. And when I say very briefly, because it's a very simple form, and this is just filled out as you go, as you have meetings, constant meetings with your healing partner. This is where you can actually record any ongoing information, basically. So this form is just, there's a little bit of information at the top that you fill out, and then it's the same form for every meeting that you have. Anytime you want to put information in, you can record it in these progress updates, and there's a different section for each. And here are some questions that prompt some subjects, really, but really it's up to you what you put in those sections. And that's it. That's a partner record form. That's all on the AYA database, of course. No need to dwell on that. So next, the structuring the healing journey. This is the next bit. Now, don't forget that really this is an ongoing process. So we need to start this form for the healing partner, and you will need to get help from the other healers as well, because it is a joint process. No one is on their own here. No healer is on their own. So it is kind of a joint effort filling out this form, and it will evolve as you go. Now, before you fill out the form, you can actually remind yourself, if you like, of this diagram here, because we went through this in the lesson structuring the healing journey. So you can actually go back to that diagram just to give yourself an overview if you want. I'm not going to go through it in detail now, but hopefully you remember this diagram. You've got problem, a list of what the problems could be, and then down here you've got solution. Actually, I should have started here at triage. Starts on the left at triage there. And then you've got a problem, and then you've got a list of solutions. You've also got a bit of information on Network Healers Clinic, self-healing, health flow program, and more information about those programs here in the center bit. And then on the end, you've got a bit of reminder about the Kundalini system there and spiritual evolution and the actual goal of all of this. The whole goal of healing is self-realization. So the reason why we're doing this is to help people point themselves in the direction of spiritual evolution and the direction of the purpose of the universe, self-realization. So that's what this bit here is all about. The ninth chakra there, you can see the Kundalini system. And if you can also, if you want, remind yourself of the AYA Guide to Healing, Lesson 2, AYA Guide to Healing, which is a similar diagram to this, which shows you the whole journey of healing, really. But that's another topic. Okay, so you can remind yourself, if you want, about this diagram, because you're about to fill out the form, SHJ form, where you're going to plan their healing journey for them. So here we go. Here's the form, and this is also filled out with our case study. So you have seen this before, haven't you? You filled it out before as part of the assignment for the Structuring the Healing Journey lesson. You filled out this form, and it was using the example that we have built on today with this case study. So partner name, lesson 39, case study 2, original healing request for severe asthma. Okay, let's get straight into the problem here. So the problem section, if you remember, there is a problem section, there is a solution section, and then an energy healing section, and then afterwards a self-healing section. So let's have a look. Karma in the problem section. Karma, pretty much everywhere you want to start, really, because karma is just the root of everything, isn't it, really? So that's usually the first thing you put. You might not know much at this time. You might not know much about their karma. And so at least just put karma in there, and then you can build on it as you go, as you find out more about them. However, we've had a meeting with the hub, and we've in this case study, we've come up with some pretty concrete explanations of what's going on in his case. So there is heavy negative karma burning from 3 main places. Let me zoom in. And don't forget that on the left here, you've got some reminders of what you could put in this section. So there is heavy negative karma burning from 3 main places. Throat chakra karma, which is actually at the location of the extremities of the energy body, because we want to put where that karma actually is. So you might have to take yourself back to the lesson about karma to remind yourself about that. Now, karma is an emotion plus context, isn't it? So it's good to write that down as well. The emotions is fear and frustration, and context is being alone. Those are actually 2 different types of karma there, a fear karma and a frustration karma. The context is being alone. He's afraid of being alone. And that's the throat chakra karma. Also, heart chakra karma. And the location is the mid-body of the energy body. Emotions, fear, loneliness, depression, despair. Context again is being alone. And there is a third one, root chakra karma. And the location is in the head area of the energy body. The emotions, fear and frustration, and the context is survival. So it's a root chakra fear, that is. And that's the fear of death, basically, which is causing a lot of that anxiety. The agoraphobia, for example. So throat, heart, and root, those are the main karmas that are burning. So there must have been an event in his previous lives that caused him to lose people around him and left him alone. So this may have happened at a particular time where he needed help the most, which traumatized him and therefore produced karma. Now, you might not know what his previous life was or where he was or anything like that, but that doesn't stop you from making some inferences about what has happened in his previous lives to cause this karma. Now, there are some other lighter sacral and solar plexus karmas, just to put that in there, but maybe for later. They're lighter. The main ones are these three important ones: throat chakra, heart chakra karmas, and root chakra karmas. And put in there that the karma lessons need to be learned, because all that anxiety and depression that he's feeling is actually creating more karma. So an event happened in his previous life and it created karma through his thought patterns. And then in this life, he's burning that karma away, but he's producing more because of all that anxiety and all that worrying. It's producing more. It's perpetuating the cycle, isn't it? So he needs to learn the karma lesson and stop producing more karma. Okay, chakra blockages is next. Now there's large blockages in the throat, heart, and root, of course, because that karma is burning. Now the asthma causes triggering in the lower mind, and that causes emotional energy to be produced as part of the emotional cycle. That's what's blocking up these chakras. So that asthma is actually a trigger for burning that karma. Blocked chakras cause an overwhelming and constant state of emotional reactivity. And those blocked chakras have also caused problems in the material body. For example, the throat chakras caused the thyroid issues. Also, the throat chakra blockage has caused an imbalance in the personality. It's led him to be extremely extroverted, but to the point of being in a constant state of fear of being alone. And frustration as well, of not being able to express himself to others. That's why he's constantly apologizing for it. Notice that in the meeting. Okay, next problem on the list: severe allergic asthma. So his high mind, so this is what we've determined after some meetings with the hub. His high mind has chosen the condition. Now we know that because he's of a heart chakra level, so it's a woken up higher mind, and he's got a life plan. And his higher mind has actually chosen this condition. His higher mind has chosen the condition. It was part of his current life plan to create the condition of asthma, draw out these past life karmas. The strong fear of being alone has been triggered by having the condition of asthma, because the condition has left him unable to live a normal life, making him more alone. And then on top of that, the soul agreements with his soul family, because he does have a soul family, even though he's got nobody in his current life, he does have a soul family, but any soul agreements has been to leave him alone again for the very purpose of burning the karma, unfortunately. Another thing to mention here about the asthma is material body genetics plays a role in causing the asthma. There are certain genes scattered around that have errors called polymorphisms. And that actually causes the asthma directly. That's the genetic component of asthma. That's very important because we want to fix that. So in this part of this fall, we want to fix that. Okay, next on the list is thyroid problems. So the throat chakra blockage has caused thyroid problems over decades of being blocked. That has led to calcium levels being very high. So high calcium levels as a result of thyroid malfunction. That has led to kidney stones. And I should say there that calcium levels are high because the thyroid gland is involved with regulating calcium levels. And as a result of that, it's created loads of kidney stones because a type of kidney stone is calcium oxalate. The stones add to the general low level of health, hospital visits and complications, along with a great deal of pain. And next on the list, sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is caused by the corticosteroid medication over the long term and exacerbated the condition of asthma and being overweight. So this causes constant tiredness, confusion, irritability, drowsiness. All this is adding to his low quality of life and therefore less ability to make friends or have a relationship. Therefore, that adds to the loneliness. Obesity, which is a common side effect of severe asthma due to the inaction, and that exacerbates the asthma as well as the sleep apnea. Okay, next problem is anxiety. So anxiety is caused by all the karma burning, but is also compounded by all the medical conditions and their complications. And as I said before, current life karma is constantly being created, perpetuating the cycle. So he's got to learn those karma lessons, very important. And there's depression going on as well. So the depression gets caused by the overwhelming nature of his life condition. And this is coming mainly from the heart chakra karma and blockage. The fear of being alone is causing, and the fact that he is alone is causing the depression. Now, the extrovertism, which is caused by the throat chakra blockage, also causes the fear of being alone, and that adds to the depression because he is actually alone. So you can see how all these problems are all interlinked and all compounding each other and burning the karma from that previous life. Loneliness, no family or friend support. That is a problem. Now, he was orphaned and adopted, and he doesn't get on with his adopted parents, no siblings, and his life conditions do not allow for a serious relationship. And agoraphobia. The constant fear of having an asthma attack or a kidney stone has led to this condition. This is the root chakra karma burning. Now, this fear of leaving the flat exacerbates the fear of being alone and the depression of being alone. Okay, that's all the problems. So we write all the problems down first, and then we write the solutions. Here is a list of the solutions, but in a condensed form, because we're going to go into it in detail afterwards. But the solutions, so we know roughly what we're doing, is that he's part of the clinic program. Education is going to be part of the solution, especially karma education, or self-healing is also part of the solution because this is clinic. So we need to get him on the self-healing journey. Energy healing is part of the solution. There's a lot we can do with energy healing. Emotional energy healing is also going to be a big part of this, isn't it? All that loneliness, not having anybody as for support. He's going to need a lot of emotional support from us. And of course, normal conventional medicine. He's already in the NHS and he's already getting a lot of treatments for various things as well. So that is part of his self-healing journey. Now, again, you can look over onto the left-hand side and for any ideas that you want to put in there. Right, now for the energy healing bit. So for the energy healing bit, what we want to do is we want to take the list of problems and decide which of them we can do something about with energy healing. And that's usually almost everything, or let's say everything is possible. Whether it actually works out or not, that's different, but everything is possible. So it's quite easy to actually just copy and paste your list of problems into this section and then work on what energy healing you're going to send. So starting with karma. And by the way, has anyone got any questions so far? So karma. We want to send energy healing to remove heavy and medium karmas in these locations. Throat chakra, and there's the location, extremities of the energy body. Heart chakra, and the location is the mid body. And by the way, as we learn more about this, we're going to be able to map the karma, the karmic personality spectrum in much more detail at some point. So as we learn more, this is going to get more detailed and it's going to get even better. The healing will get better as we learn more. And the root chakra karma, which is location of the head area in the energy body. Now, you might have noticed I haven't mentioned magnetic enzymes or anything here because we don't know enough yet about how the healing energy removes karmas. So it's okay to be general here. Send energy healing to remove heavy and medium karmas. That's the instruction that we're using here. Also put there current life karma, because we might as well do all the stuff that he's producing currently in his life. All right, next, chakra blockages. We want to send healing energy to unblock these blockages. The throat chakra is completely blocked. The heart chakra, completely blocked. Solar plexus and sacral, they're just a light blockage there. And the root chakra is completely blocked. Hello? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So this is where we often don't know what's going to happen. And this is one of the reasons why sometimes energy healing doesn't work, or sometimes it does. Now, it could be part of his life plan that he needs to feel the effects of burning the karma. So unfortunately, suffer. Now, that can happen, and we'll find out along the way, because it's not going to help. What we're doing is not going to help. That's when we determine, unless we can determine it before, but quite often we see, okay, it's not working. That must mean he has to be working through this himself. Or his life plan could involve meeting us and getting his karma burnt away completely. And in that case, it will work. So in Network Healers, we have seen both of those cases, haven't we? We've also seen a third case where sometimes our energy healing won't work, but we have to give them self-healing techniques and they have to do stuff themselves. So that's all part of the journey that unfolds, and we start to know what's actually going to happen. But initially with this form, we put down what we are trying to do. So that's chakra blockages. So we write down the chakra blockages that we want removing. Right, next, severe allergic asthma. Now, this is the easy bit, to be honest with you, because this is a copy and paste job. Because we did this in the last lesson, didn't we? And the asthma has been done before. So we've got a nice, easy energy healing procedure that we can copy and paste from another form. So this 12-step process we went through last week, you can copy and paste all that. Now, as long as you know, as long as you understand it, what's in it, you can copy and paste it, no problem. And when you're doing this assignment in a couple of weeks' time, come to this form and copy and paste it if you want. Read through it, make sure you understand it, but just copy and paste. So that's the steps for severe asthma. And there's a few extra bits that I've put in here as well. A bit more explanation, which you can copy and paste these paragraphs as well. So for removing cells and tissues, generally speaking, for removing cells and tissues, send deconstructing magnetic enzymes to the cells that need to be removed. Program the MEs to wrap around the cells in question and deconstruct them into small enough pieces that will flow away naturally in the extracellular matrix and drain into the lymph system. That's a nice detailed description for the healing energy. And you can copy and paste that again and again and again. And it's good to copy and paste it, because it reminds the healer. It reminds the healer of what's happening. And that's important for high mind healing. So that's for removing cells and tissues. For rebuilding cells and tissues, we've got another paragraph here, look. Send regulatory magnetic enzymes to the stem cells that lie within the target tissue. Program these MEs to activate the nuclear DNA to start the cell replication process. The stem cells will then start dividing into more cells, i.e. tissue grows. Next, send constructive magnetic enzymes to help build the cells. Now, you might want to go back to some previous lessons in energy healing to remind yourself of what's going on here, or remind yourself of the processes. But that's perfectly normal. That's why all the lessons are on Classroom, and you can go back and remind yourself. But you can copy and paste this stuff, basically, as long as you understand it. And to remove the allergies, another couple of paragraphs that you can put in. Send regulatory magnetic enzymes to the nuclear DNA to switch off the genes, in brackets, polymorphisms, that are causing the problems. So those gene mutations that are causing the problems of asthma, you can send magnetic enzymes to regulate them. Now, it may not be possible to know exactly in which cells these polymorphisms are located. There may be many. So here you're just going to have to be general. You're just going to have to instruct the MEs to find them all and correct them. There has to be a line where we just can't go further with more detail. So a generalized instruction sometimes is fine. Okay, let's move on then. So thyroid problems, I'll put that in brackets because that is going to be left to conventional medicine. We had a meeting in the hub and it's been decided this will be left to conventional medicine. He's on the waiting list for an operation, therefore that should fix the problem. We'll see how he is after that and determine if any energy healing is required. Same with calcium levels. The calcium levels should be fixed after the operation. And again, that'll be monitored and energy healing applied if necessary. Kidney stones. So this will be a mixture of conventional medicine and energy healing. He's going to need the stent removing at some point, so he'll have an operation. But we can send healing energy to wear away the kidney stones. So let's put that on the list. Deconstructing magnetic enzymes to try and break down those kidney stones. And also send healing energy to remove excess pain from the complications of his operations. Next is obesity. So this will be a mixture of conventional, self-healing, and also energy healing. Now we know that it is possible to alter the levels of hormones that regulate appetite, ghrelin and leptin. However, we're going to wait to see if this can be achieved through self-healing methods first. So nutrition and exercise whenever he's able to start that. Okay, sleep apnea. So we're thinking this should disappear once the weight is under control. And hopefully if the medication gets reduced, and that banks on the energy healing working, of course. Anxiety and depression. So hopefully this should be eased by the energy healing to remove the karma and the healing on the chakra blockages. And if there's a reduction in asthma symptoms from the healing, that is going to reduce his anxiety accordingly, isn't it? And of course, self-healing is applied, but that's in the next section. So extrovertism to the point of anxiety of being alone. So the personality imbalance here has been caused by the chakra blockage in the throat chakra as a result of the throat chakra karma. So hopefully the energy healing on the karma and the chakra blockages should balance the emotions and in turn the personality characteristic. And lastly, loneliness. No family or friend support. So here, the emotional energy healing is very important. We're going to send unconditional love to support and help him feel loved. And hopefully the loneliness should ease after the karma is burnt away and the blockage in the heart chakra has been dealt with. Okay, so that is the energy healing really. Now, there is a section here which is called increasing the speed of healing. I'm not going to go through this in detail now because there's quite a few paragraphs, but this is all about Rasaja membrane. Now, do you remember going through that in the last energy healing lesson a couple of weeks ago? The Rasaja membrane method is a method that we're trialing out to increase the speed of healing, make it go quicker. So you want to copy and paste this in to your form. I'm not going to read it through now, but when you copy and paste it in, this whole section, read it through. And hopefully you can remember from, or you might need to go back to that lesson on advanced healing so that you can understand what's going on here in these paragraphs. But read it through and hopefully you'll understand that and but copy and paste, of course. Okay, that is the energy healing section. Any questions about that? Okay, and lastly, the self-healing section. Now, basically here we want to just list what he's going to be doing in the self-healing of his self-healing journey. So I've just basically listed the different layers and put some notes about what he can and can't do currently. So for the pyramid course, he's committed to watching the pyramid course lessons online, and that will be reinforced by the healer any chance possible. Spiritual layer, well, we haven't really talked about meditation much yet. So maybe after the first pyramid lesson that he's seen, we'll give him some meditation practice to do. Psychological layer. So he's got a fairly good understanding of psychology and psychotherapy because he's tried all sorts of different types of therapies. So what we'll probably do is get him to write his list of afflictions of the mind and prioritize them and get him to focus on those thought patterns that trigger his anxieties. And that's all to do with being alone and fear of having an asthma attack. And we'll use the rewire your mind exercise as part of that process to reverse those conditioning patterns. Okay, and next is the emotional layer. So he'll need to be taught emotional meditation immediately to help him control his anxieties and depression. That will also stop him from burning or stop him from producing more karma. So that's very important, that one, emotional meditation. And then we can start talking about karma maybe after he's seen the lesson on the emotional layer, because it's probably easier for him to see that lesson and it's been introduced to him, and then you can carry on the conversation in the meetings then. Now, I reckon he might be a candidate at some point for filling out and maintaining a karmic personality spectrum sheet. Do you remember that sheet? When we did karma applications, a big sheet where we can actually map out the whole karmic personality spectrum to understand people's levels of karma and measure it periodically as we go, as we remove it. Eventually, possibly, but obviously not yet. Slowly approach here. All right, and bioenergy layer. Well, he's already going to be doing breath work to accept the healing energy, which is good. And then after that, maybe chakra breathing. We'll give him some chakra breathing to start helping unblock his chakras himself. And he needs to learn this stuff anyway to take care of himself. But once he's ready, because with his lungs, he does need to go very slowly with breath work just to allow his lungs to get used to the exercises. And the material body layer. So a very strong focus on nutrition for the moment. So he's not able to exercise, but if the energy healing works, we can encourage him to start an exercise program. But really, nutrition is very important to try and control his weight. So I've given him the general handouts on nutrition, and I'll let that sink in for a while. And then after a while, maybe we can focus on more detail and giving him a detailed nutrition plan. Now, that may come through NHS, actually, the conventional route, or we can maybe refer him to one of our nutritionists. Okay, there we go. And that's it. This last section here, don't worry too much about that. Cycles of healing, we're going to be implementing that at some point, but it's no need to do anything about that yet. So there we go. That is a filled out structure and healing journey form, and you can refer back to this form when you're doing the assignment in a couple of weeks' time. You can copy and paste whatever you need to. As long as you understand something, then feel free to copy and paste stuff if it's the same for that particular case study that you'll go through. And also don't forget that this is done as a group effort in the Healing Hub as well. So you're going to be doing it on your own for this assignment, but you can ask questions and we can help you with it as well. And there we go. It's about that. There we go. We've got enough time for a discussion if we need one. That was a lot of talking at you. I'm aware of that. Hopefully I didn't send everybody to sleep. But if you did manage to fall asleep, then don't forget it's recorded and you can go and watch bits again if you need to, especially when you're doing the assignment in a couple of weeks' time. So that's going to be very important. And the course notes as well that come out of the transcript of that will be quite useful as well, because that'll be summarized. That'll be a nice summarized summary for you. And also going back to the procedure might also just remind you nicely that just going to read just the procedure and that will help you with the assignment. Yes, that's a very good point to mention, actually. Only the people who are doing the qualification, therefore the assignments, that are doing all the assignments, and therefore are going to get the theory and a practical qualification and become part of a Healers Hub. Only those people will be doing the assignment that I'm talking about, the role-playing assignment. Yes. Any other discussion points about all that? All right, so we are almost at the end of the theory lessons, really, and you could say actually that next week is the last lesson. You could say, because next week we're going to go through the protocol for the research project, and then after that you've got the role plays, which is not really a lesson. We're just going to do it individually, and then the week after that is the exam, which, okay, I might just go through the exam with you, but it's not really a lesson. I'll be presenting the exam, and then that will be it. You'll be going away and taking it away and doing the exam. So really, next week I think is the last proper lesson, I would say. All right, lovely. Well, if no one else has got more questions or anything, we can call it a day. Okay, lovely. See you guys next week then, or whenever. All right, see you then. Bye bye.